about 2 minutes to let people join us live. Really appreciate our 3 guests today. I think it's going to be a fabulous session. I think it's going to be educational. I think it's going to be entertaining. And I really think if you're lucky enough to join us today, you'll walk away with some really valuable tips to help you take your business to the next level. So we're going to hang out here for a minute or two. Susan, it looks like you may be in your apartment. Aaron, looks like you're in your office. And Ari is on vacation. And what better way to spend his vacation than with all of you? Do you want? Is the weather nice there, Ari?
It is. I'm in Miami. It's like 80 degrees.
Nice.
Okay. It's funny. I love it when the people in South Florida about, what was it, 3 weeks ago were complaining, right? They had the frost, whatever it was, 30 degrees. It's like, oh my God. I'm like, please.
Yep.
Spoiled. So give us another 30 seconds here. We could do it. Let's do the quick intros that we're going to do, so we don't punish the people that were actually here on time. So let's start. I'll go in order of how my boxes are shaped here. Mr. Harkov, Ari Harkov of Brown Harris Stevens. You have been in real estate for how many years?
Started in 2007, so I guess that dates me almost 15 years.
Well, it was a good time. You got in right before, right? The craziness.
I got in, I had about a year, and then the whole thing crashed. So just as I was starting to get my sea legs, rode the whole thing all the way down to the bottom, but it was a good learning experience. And
you've surely rode it all the way back up to the top. That is for sure. How many, obviously you have your partner in crime,
Yep.
Warner. How many team members?
We are 19 at present.
And that includes just salespeople or operational people as well?
We have 8 operations folks, myself and my partner. I guess so. That's what's at 11, if I could do math. And then we have the remainder are sales and leasing agents.
8. Okay, give us the 10 seconds on those 8 operational people. Just like marketing, admin, just real quick.
Sure. Director of operations oversees all the operational administrative side of the business. Marketing coordinator oversees all the marketing. We have a basically contract signed to closing coordinator, board packages, invoices, commissions, etc. We have 4 admins on a very large institutional account that we have handling underwriting, inspections, deal diligence, what have you. We have a VA in the Philippines who fills in on weekends and helps with kind of like mailing lists and, odds and ends tasks, and just providing additional 7-day-a-week support. And then, did I cover all of them? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's true.
So not to overwhelm anybody, if you didn't have that major institutional account, you'd have, about 12 people on the team and probably 4 support staff. Taking that operational, that big account off the.
Yeah, if you remove that account, probably closer to 15 team members and probably 4 or 5 on the admin side.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Mr. Seawood of Triplement fame. How long have you been in this business?
Right after Ari, actually. So 2008. So just shy of 14 years. So I came in.
And your team is?
We're 6.
More boutique than Ari. So you're 6 in total.
Yeah, 2 operations, director of operations, and we have a team assistant as well.
Awesome. VA or no?
Yes, full-time VA.
We'll get more into that in a little bit about leveraging VA and VA's capabilities. Ms. Fishman, you have had how many year career in real estate? Are you the winner here?
I don't know. I think you might have us beat, but I started in 2001. 2001. So you can do the math.
And you spent how many years running a team and as an agent?
Almost 15 years at Douglas Elliman. I had a couple iterations of the team. It was the early days of teams, trying out a couple of different ways, but for almost 15 years running one myself.
And so that means you've been in leadership roughly about 5 or 6 years.
Correct.
Okay, great. So you have a little bit of a different perspective here. That's why I'm so happy you joined us. So let's get right into it. We got a lot to cover. We got about 10 questions here, rapid fire. We're going to try and get Please, if you have any questions, offer it in the chat. We'll do our best to leave a few minutes at the end to select some questions if we have time to get to it. And at the end, we'll also, if anybody has some follow-up things that this session left them wanting more, we'll give you all of our contact information so you could please feel free to reach out to us. My name's Eric Barron. You're right, I have been doing this a long time. So I predate you. And I don't have a team. I've been mainly on the leadership side. So hopefully I'm here just to make, actually my job is very easy today. My job is just to extract wonderful pieces of information from these three outstanding individuals and keep it moving and let's have some fun. So biggest misconceptions about building a team, our first question today. Biggest misconceptions about building a team, right? Because everybody thinks they need to build a team, wants a team. Let's start with Ari. Biggest misconception in team, and or before you even think about starting a team, what should someone really be thinking about?
It's a good way to start. So my perspective is, if you think about a team or you think about a business, it's kind of like, think of it as a house. The administrative operations support side is the foundation. So I think what happens with a lot of folks is they get into the business, they're working on their own, they're doing reasonably well, they start to get fairly busy and they think like, oh, I need someone to help me with showings, or I have this, small buyer I'm turning down because I can't give them attention, or I'm getting some rentals I'm throwing away, or whatever the case may be. And so they staff their initial team with more agents. My advice and my perspective is to do the opposite. So to build the operational administrative foundation, do the underpinning, get the house ready, and then have that as your support structure. And then from there, build out the commissioned agent sales leasing side of the business. I don't think that everybody needs a team, but I always like, my famous saying is if you don't have an admin, you are one. And so I think that at the very least, every agent in this business should have administrative support. Otherwise, they are administrative support.
God, I have like 3 follow-up questions to that. What happens when an agent says, I'm going to stay here for 1 second. What happens when an agent says to you, but Ari, I can't afford an operations person?
You can't afford them until you have them. So, economically, you could say, hey, I'm going to bring this person on. I'm going to pay them out of commissions until I get to the point where I feel confident that I can pay them a salary. There are ways to get there. Talk to your company, talk to your firm, whatever the case may be. But I think that is respectfully kind of small thinking. And I think that you can't afford them until you have them. And when you have them, you'll easily be able to pay for them, and many times over.
So my 10 seconds of feedback there is, right, this is an investment in your business, right? Any other person that runs a business mortgages their house, right, to pay their bills and get a lease and hire staff. So you can't afford not to have it. And this is an investment, right? It's a monthly investment. You're not giving them a lump sum salary up front. So your business will surely, if used properly, right, and leveraged properly, your business will surely catch up to that expense in a matter of months if you're using them properly. So awesome. Same question, Mr. Seawood. Biggest misconceptions in building a team, and once again, before you start a team, however you want to flow with this.
I mean, I would echo Ari. I mean, because I didn't start my team initially the right way. So he's spot on. I didn't lay the foundation first. People were drawn to my energy. Like he said, I got really busy. And so I thought, hey, okay, you want to work together, let's do it. And that's not the right way. Absolutely would echo that admin is the foundation. I would also say, though, there's this misconception, I think, that you're going to build a team and that you're just going to like pass off stuff and there's no investment or involvement. And I know everybody runs their team differently. But from my experience, I pour into my agents. And I think that there's this misconception to think that someone's just going to join the team and you think that they're going to be okay with just kind of taking scraps. Some people will do that. And I know we're going to get to probably attrition down the road, but that leads to a lot of churn and burn. So I think just understanding that if you are going to build out a team, that it isn't one way, that it's just about you and you trying to add support, but that these people that are deciding to join your team are also looking for ways that they can grow and advance.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about that later. And if I forget, just remind me. I believe that when you start a team that you take on a responsibility to others, whether you like it or not, right? You have a responsibility to people. They're joining your team to provide a livelihood for themselves or their family. You owe them some level of responsibility and respect. So yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that because, like you just said, that infamous word attrition. We've all been doing this long enough where you're seeing people pouring on and off teams way too often, right? Way too often. And we also know that attrition for any small business is one of the worst things that could happen. And we're running small businesses here, if not very big businesses, to be quite frank. Susan, from your purview, and particularly in leadership the past 5-6 years, biggest misconceptions, what do you stress all the time to agents before they start a team?
I actually would echo almost everything that Ari said. Really starting with that administrative capacity, I think is really important, right? It's potentially your first time managing people, managing a business, managing operations. That's the first place to start. Can you do it? Do you want to do it? I think a lot of team leads don't necessarily think they want to do it because obviously there's this sort of glory in this big team that's doing all of this business, but the steps to get there and to really lay that that business that you're creating with your team, with your partnership, and trying that out with that foundation. Who's the right assistant to go the distance with? Who's going to help me hire the right people? And what does that business plan look like to execute?
Okay, so let's stay right there. You said something that was going to kind of be like my question 1A, and I don't care who jumps in here, so please jump in. Finding that right person, because even if it's not about just starting out. How many teams that have been in business for a while have gone through 3, 4, 5 assistants, over 10 years, and who wants to do that, right? Onboard, right? It's oh my God, again. Who wants to slow down that much to speed up? So, tips for any tip for hiring the right person, questions to ask that you didn't ask, right? I mean, we've all made mistakes in the past. So what should someone be doing to ensure, and there's no guarantee in life, people make, the best HR people make mistakes. So what can we do to help people listening to make sure they onboard the right person? Who wants to jump at that first?
I could jump in. So my biggest piece of advice is rely less on the people and more on the systems. So if you are 90-10 person systems, you're sort of inevitably going to fail. If you are 50-50, 60-40 systems people, that's where you succeed. So before you even think about hiring someone, before you start interviewing, before you hire someone, build out the systems. What are they going to do? How are they going to do it? How are they going to report to you? In what way will they report to you? What do you expect to see at the beginning of the end of every day? Where are you tracking the workload that they do? Are they interfacing with clients? Are they on the back end? What's your brand? How do you communicate? You have to think through all of these things. As you said, you use the B word, we're running businesses. Even one agent and an admin is a business. And by the way, it's a business that's bigger than almost all small businesses in the entire US from a revenue perspective. So running a business, you have to build out systems and structure. So, like, for example, what we did when we started the team way back in the day, we made a lot of mistakes. But one thing I think we did reasonably well is before we hired anyone, we started to put pen to paper on all the things that we were doing that we wanted administrative assistants to do and the ways that we wanted them to do it. And over time, we iterated and built on those systems.
Yeah, but okay, Ari, you know what? That's why I'm hiring this person. I'm not an ops person. I'm not a systems person. So you're asking the impossible. What's your response?
No, you're not asking the impossible. All I'm asking you to do is this step one, think about all the things that you do on your own right now and think about how someone else is going to do them. For example, like you're doing your own board packages. How's that going to work? When are you going to connect the admin with the client? How are you going to connect them? What is the admin going to be responsible for? What are you going to oversee? Do you have a board package manual? Do you have sample reference letters? When do you email those to the client? Who interfaces with the managing agent? Do you have a set of, co-op board interview tips? I mean, think about the things that you do in your process from, hey, I think I might want to buy a place or sell a place till now I'm at the closing table or even after the closing table, and start to think about what are the pieces you're going to peel off to give to an admin and just get a pen to paper just as a start. That's step one. Like, even if you're not great at building systems, what you do, you need to get that down and realize like, oh, I didn't even think about the fact that I was doing X, Y, and Z, or I'm missing this, and this, it doesn't, like, you don't need Salesforce. You don't need crazy software. You don't need hire, a McKinsey consultant. It's really like pretty nuts and bolts. You just have to do it.
So, Aaron, I mean, you're very much a front of the house versus a back of the house guy, kind of similar to me. You're not necessarily an ops
No, super creative.
person. So how did you help onboard and really find your assistant that's working for you?
I mean, everything that Ari said is absolutely right. I mean, I think it also depends on who you are. And for me, I'm a super creative. So to your point, for all those people out there, don't be discouraged if you don't have all of those things. But he's right. It's really taking all the things out of your head and saying, hey, here's what needs to happen. For me, what I learned through experience and not having the best people in that position was that I needed a hawk. I needed someone that was super detail oriented. The person I hired, Priscilla, came from compliance. So that was really great for me. Someone that had knew HPD and every single iteration and step, and things could not be missed, and how detail oriented. I wasn't that diligent before. I'm somebody that's very instinctual. If it feels right, I'm rolling. That can lead you in really great places unsuspectedly, but it also can have you go down roads you don't need to go to. So I think that was a piece that was really helpful. For me, though, it's other aspects, like all the nuts and bolts that's really powerful. I want someone that's scrappy. I want someone that's proactive. I want someone that can come in and say, hey, you know what? You're doing all these things. You're right. I have a system, but I'm a big personality. A lot of that's talent. That's not scalable. So let's do the download. But I needed to have a partner, someone that I could say, hey, look, here's all the things that I've created. Can we create a system around it? So for the people out there, don't be discouraged. That can happen that way. If you're, coming from Ari's vantage point, that's ideal for sure, because then you're able to say, it's my business. Here's how it runs. And I could do that from a brand perspective for sure. And I can do that from every step that we're doing, but I'd be lying to say that I had every system in place. It's a big reason why I did not take off, and was kind of, doing well, but not amazing until I was able to implement that person. And they brought a lot of energy, and I shaped that, if that makes sense.
Can we reinforce one word you said? It's being proactive.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I'm also thinking about, if I'm a creator, I'm like, I don't even know, it's easy. Like Ari said, I know I'm doing board packages. Even if it's painful for me, I can map that out. There are things I'm not doing that I should be doing, so you wanted someone, like a Priscilla, who was proactive. Once again, there's so many resources out there to figure out what are best practices for marketing, video, touch points, CRM, whatever that may be, that you may not be doing. So for you, proactive, because how many times I've heard team leads complain, oh, they're waiting for me. My assistant's waiting for me to tell them what to do. That's something that you need to kind of get a feel for personality style and how they operate early on. So I love that word proactive. I think it's super important. Susan?
I think one of the things that resonated with both what Ari and Aaron were saying was a real clarity in what you offer and don't offer. And really sounds like you both went through a really deep process of really understanding what that is. I'm really good at operations. I understand the systems and this is what it is. And I can translate that. I'm going to hire, like you mentioned, somebody on your team who's the marketing coordinator, right? Maybe creative isn't your strength, but you hired for that role, but you went through that process. And I think that's where a lot of team leads fall short, is not really thinking about what their strengths and weaknesses are. I think it's all about, rainmaking and I have all this extra business, but really not that thoughtful process of really understanding what you're good at and what you need to hire for.
It's funny. I just want to give a quick tip, because I see this happen all the time, because obviously most team leads have a lot of D&I in them. If you're familiar with DISC, right? We have big personalities and strong personalities. Don't hire for personality, right? This is not a personality contest. Everyone's shaking their head, right? I mean, it's easy to fall in love. Oh my God, I love this person, but you need to see what their work product looks like. It's surprising to me that, give that person an assignment. See how they write an email. You would be surprised at the work product you get back, how they think about things. So I think don't rely on your personality attachment to them. Like Ari said, even at the beginning, this is a process-oriented position. You need to make sure they can manage that process, and personality, frankly, is secondary. Obviously it's a whole separate conversation if they're going to be talking to clients and everything else. But yeah, process-oriented and seeing the output of their work product. Like I say, give them an assignment or two. It'll tell you a lot very, very quickly. So you use the word systems and structure, Ari, a couple of times in both answers. Can we talk about what systems and structures you have implemented along the way to really solidify that foundation as you add additional floors to that house?
Sure.
Let's start backwards here. Let's give Susan first go at this.
Sure.
You know, in working with so many different teams today, what have you seen someone do that's really cool in regards to systems and structure, communication, accountability, whatever you've seen to really make that team super effective and cohesive?
I think the collaboration piece, I think that a lot of teams who have had great success have a real like heart to them, that they're connected in some way, and everyone is connected to each other. You know, the mission, the why, the purpose, the nature of their business, and that they're all on that same page with it, and that there are expectations attached to meet those requirements, to meet those goals, and to hit that mission and to hit the why. And that there's some type of connection, you know, whether it's, you know, you meet Tuesdays and Thursdays and you do role play together, or you meet Mondays to kick off the week and what your initiatives are, or you sit on the phone, you know, for an hour a week doing phone calls, making sure that your outreach to your client, like what is the heartbeat of the team that everyone can really get behind to move the mission forward.
I love it. Start with the why. And everybody on the same bus, right? Moving in the same direction for the same purpose, right? We really rarely see that in most real estate teams, and it starts at the top. So, Mr. Seawood.
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything. I mean, we're very culture first on our team. If we get into more specific systems, you know, we are on Slack. Very heavy. So all of our buyers are on a separate channel. All of our listings are on a separate channel. Our rental section, we're heavy in sports and entertainment. So we have a channel for that. That has been huge. On the back end.
What do you use that for? Like, why? It's huge. Why is that beneficial, being on Slack together?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
great
what
question.
do you share?
Yes. I mean, it's constantly the dialogue. I mean, it really basically gets you off of text and not being drowning in email. So it's a really good in between of basically being able to, like, we have Joe Buyer and we communicate everything from, you know, I'm taking this person out, to here's floor plans, to did we set up the inspection? All these different things get communicated over Slack. We also have like useful content. So we'll drop in different things that we think the team should share. We have our general channel that just keeps it light and where we make observations on things and we're clowning and it's just fun. And so it's a nice mix of business and having everything organized and us all dialed in. And then also kind of the freedom piece. On the back end, you know, Priscilla brought Asana. So her and Karen use Asana and they keep all of their operational things organized amongst themselves with that. We tried to participate in that. It wasn't as friendly for the agent side. And so these are things you'll learn as well, that I don't think it's a one size fits all for every aspect. Ops may feel that they need certain tools to use. The agents, as we know, the biggest challenge is adoption because we're all individuals. And so trying to get a bunch of people to do the same thing is difficult, but Slack worked out really well for us. And then as it goes back to culture, you know, we do team dinners. We did a bowling event. We'll do very just authentic get-togethers and things that are fun. We did, you know, a Santa gifting thing, you know, all kind of stuff. So I think those have all been things that have been helpful, both on culture side and on work.
Weekly meeting?
Yeah, we meet every Tuesday. It's our huddle. And at the recommendation of Priscilla, it's funny, we used to meet for an hour. And I think meetings are the death of most people. So we trimmed it to 30 minutes and found that we've been really effective. It's a weekly huddle. And then we do a family reunion every month, which is an hour long, and they'll have an educational piece. So we'll have an attorney come in, we'll have an inspector, we'll have someone to add value. And then alternating Thursdays, we have, at the recommendation of one of the team members, sales deep dive. And so that's where we can really go in. And there was a challenge on a negotiation. There was a hiccup. There was an attorney that didn't play nice, whatever the case may be. And we can really roll up our sleeves and kind of work. So as our team is very egalitarian, so we really are working on every client together for the most part in some capacity, even if it's limited. But there'll be times that there's nuances of the deal that other members don't hear about. So if it's something that's worthy, we know we have that time together twice a month to be able to really drill down.
It's a great tip too. What you do is you compartmentalize as well, because we try and group everything into a meeting, and it could be overwhelming. And when it's overwhelming, you retain nothing. So the fact that you leave space for sales, you leave space for ongoing professional development. At hand. Are we still okay here? I'm getting an oops that way connection. We're still here?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay.
You're back.
You're back.
Whatever that pop-up was. I love the fact that you leave space for things that are important, so it just doesn't get thrown in at like the last 5 minutes of our Tuesday powwow is going to be an educational session. That you leave space for things that are important. I love that. Ari, anything anything about system structures? It could be something small. It could be something big.
I mean, I like what you guys both said. What I always tell people about our business is it's not complicated, but it's really hard to execute. So, the culture overlays with the systems and structure, overlays with the brand, overlays with our strengths and weaknesses and the people we are and the firms with which we identify. And, it's all intertwined. So you can't take anything out of a vacuum. The greatest systems in the world with horrible brand and terrible marketing and bad people are never going to work. And the greatest people and brand and creativity with horrible systems are also never going to work. So, it's all very much intermeshed and intertwined. I love what you guys said. I think it's all spot on. And the other fun thing about our business is everybody is not for everyone at all times. Like there are clients who might, like us better, or like one of these guys better, or like someone else on the call better, or, work with this person in this way on this day. And the market's big. So there's no one right way to do this. But I think even just being aware of the fact that you have these different components of like marketing and brand and systems and operations, in and of itself, you already put yourself, many steps above your quote unquote average agent, because you're starting to think like a business. You're starting to think about like, what are the levers that I can push and pull? What are the things that I can do? As far as systems and structure, I'm a keep it simple, stupid person. I like, very, very simple and clean. My attitude is really simple. The best system is the system you use, period, end of story. If you want like some fancy CRM and that's what's going to work for you guys, do it. Like you guys like Slack, that works for you, do it. It doesn't matter. We run our entire operation off of Outlook, Excel, Microsoft Word. That's it. No Slack, no CRM, no text messages, no nothing. I like it really simple, clean, everything centralized in one place. Outlook tasks. I can run my entire business off of Outlook tasks. That works for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work for somebody else, but it works for me. And it's easier for me to get buy-in from the team, the less systems we have and the less places that we have for kind of like manual human input error. So that's been good for us. But again, I'm not saying that that's the right way to do it. It's just the way that, we do it. Like, Eric, I'm a big, exercise running nut. And they always talk about, fitness. And they always say like the best exercise is the exercise you do. Right. Forget about like high intensity interval training or running or yoga or biking, whatever. Just get out and move your body. That's my.
Give me a granular quick tip. You have a weekly meeting. You have a daily stand up. How do you communicate? Give me something that's going to help teams communicate better. That's helped you.
Sure. Always have a weekly meeting. Hands down, 100%. Absolutely must happen. I think that's.
Do you have an agenda?
We have an agenda. It gets prepared by my director of operations. I put some stuff into the agenda every week. We have a member of the team who makes a contribution to the end of the agenda every week. Great. So I lead the meeting, but someone always makes a contribution. The contribution can be like, hey, here's a really cool thing happening in the crypto world. Or it can be like, did you know about the history of the S train in Brooklyn? Because I'm really nerdy and I like trains, It doesn't matter what it is, but everybody has an input. Every week we have one person rather. That meeting takes 20 to 30 minutes. It was always in person pre-COVID. Unfortunately, it's been on Zoom, but we are moving back to in person, hopefully this month. Every Monday morning, 20, 30 minutes. I agree. The hour-long meeting is horrific. We don't do it. It has to be fast, quick, and to the point. For many years, I was doing huddles, so like a one-on-one 5 minute with each member of the sales team. The team just kind of got too big and unwieldy, so that doesn't work anymore. So now it's kind of more as is. The operations teams have weekly meetings where they check in with everybody. We have, like, on our institutional client, we have an internal call. That weekly check-in, I think, with all kind of like internal teams within your team is really important. The other thing that we've done, and we do it religiously every single quarter without fail since we started the team, and I think it's been a really gold mine for us, is we do quarterly reviews. So it's a one-on-one, face-to-face, in the same room, myself, my business partner, director of operations, and then whoever the person is we're meeting with. And we spend 20, 30 minutes, and it's like an overview check-in. Issues you're having with other team members, issues you're having with a company, things we're doing well, things we're not doing well. This deal had this happen, that thing had that happen. You're happy with your pay structure, you're not happy, whatever it is, like kind of big picture. And my thinking behind that was always, I don't want anything to fester for more than like 2-3 months tops.
Get ahead of it.
And that way nothing turns into a big issue.
Be proactive, right? I don't want to meet with them. They're a pain in the ass. Then why are they on your team, right? It's like, come on. I mean, why not ask them? Are you happy? Are you making the money you want to make? You know, are we meeting your expectations? You know, they're not an indentured servant. You know, they can come and go. You want people to be happy, right? It's good juju for the team. Love it. Be proactive. Have those one-on-ones. Once again, showing them that you care. That meeting with them shows them that you care. I love that. Thank you for that. Agents on a team. Everyone's bringing on agents left and right? Give me tips for bringing people on your team. Why are you bringing people on your team? What questions are you asking? What mistakes have you made? You know, so finding the right agents for your team. You know, I know there's no one size fits all, but give me just some great tips and advice. We have people on this call just starting out in a team. We have people that are like desperate to hire 2 or 3 more people. Give me some of the foundational things you look for now in growing the team. We'll do reverse now. Ari, you start.
Well, you said the first thing, which is the most important thing. Why are you bringing somebody on the team? If you're bringing someone on the team because you want a lot of people in the background of your picture and it's an ego-driven thing, that's going to end really well. You know, if you're bringing someone on the team because you're overflowing with business, or because you think they could be some sort of synergistic add to expand it to a new, sub-market, whatever it is, like, why are you bringing someone on the team is the fundamental question. I think before you can even address anything else, that's step one. Okay. For our team, because I can only speak to my personal experience, our business has generally been generated by either myself or my business partner, or kind of through the team, through open houses and listings and what have you. That's our team. I'm not saying that's the way all teams work, but that's the way our team has worked. And so because of it, every time we bring a new team member on, my thinking is always, I want to make sure that we can feed them properly. And the last thing I want to do is have someone on the team 3, 4, 6, 8, 9 months in, whatever it is, come to me and say, like, I'm not making the money I wanted to make financially. This is not working out. So for us, it's always been having the deal flow, the business flow that we feel we can support them. And then there's a whole series of other questions, how we hire, how we bring people in. I don't think it's probably the purview of this call. But the first step is just like, why are you expanding? I think there are a lot of teams in our industry who couldn't even answer that question.
So Aaron, you've seen it a lot too. I mean, because I hate when people say, I need more team members, I'm not doing enough business. I'm like, whoa, no, but that's the case, right? I need to leverage someone else's network because I am not a big enough rainmaker. And once again, I don't want to say there's no right or, let's just say there's no right or wrong here, even though I have a very strong opinion about it. I'm sure all of us do. But Aaron, I know your connection with people are very important, right? Because they're your extended family. How have you brought people on? How have you successfully brought people on?
Oh, great. So I'm going to be the reference of, well, I have failed forward. So this is good for everyone that's watching. It's okay. The old way was people were drawn to my energy or my vibe. The business I was doing, coming from the music industry is very attractive. And so wanting to be around that in some form or fashion. And unsuccessful is not really drilling down and not looking at it from just my standpoint of like what I'm trying to do and build, but appreciating what Susan mentioned earlier is their why and where are they going and what's important to them. And one real caveat is, how do they learn? Like, I didn't really process how people receive information. So had I really understood DISC, heard about it, but really implemented or a version of, and I did it later on and it worked wonders, it would have been much easier because the people were great people and we could have been friends, but we didn't necessarily need to be in business together. That's a different thing. How I do it successfully now is I have a couple things. I'll keep it short. For me, it's GWC. You know, people get it. They get what we're trying to do with Carte Blanche. They want it, and they have the capacity to do it. And there have been people in the past when I run that metric reverse that I'd say, oh, wow, they got what I was trying to do. They wanted it. They just didn't really have the capacity, or they had great capacity and they got what I was doing. They just didn't want it. Weren't really ambitious. They weren't all in. So I think it's really important to be able to kind of go both ways of understanding, like, here's what we need for our team. We're a lifestyle brand in the real estate space. I'm unique in that. It's not what everyone's structure is. So I'm approaching it from that standpoint. The last thing I'll say is I break bread. So me, I'm not the interview guy. I think anyone can learn how to ace an interview, but you can't fake it when we go break bread, have lunch, dinner, and then your order comes out wrong and you want to berate the staff. Or, you know, I'm probably going to treat, this doesn't come up, but let's say we're out and we're splitting or whatever, and I see how you tip. So I think people show who they are in different arenas. And I would really encourage people to get out of office, which we technically aren't in, but get off of Zoom too. Go break bread, do something, be in an environment where you can really see how people act when their shoulders are down and who they are. I think that's important.
And if you're still unsure, if they have a significant other, have them bring them. Yes. I've learned so much from that relationship with their significant, right? And whether it's the mutual respect or the yin and the yang, or I see the other significant and I go, oh, now I get it. So I think it's get them out of the interview mode. Because let's be honest, right? You're going to put them on the street. They're an extension of your brand. How they interact with other people is a direct reflection of you. So I love that. That's a great tip. Great tip. Susan, you deal with it every day, right?
Yes.
I need someone to add to my team. I need someone to add to my team.
A very natural progression from breaking bread is date them. Spend some time doing some deals, you know, give them a lead, coach them through that first transaction, interact with them at an open house, test them out in different situations, how they handle pressure, really experience that in a very slow build without committing, I think is probably the best advice that I can give to bringing anybody onto your team, because you just don't know. This business, transactions are so complicated and so personal. So you don't know what they're going to do in those situations. And you have that opportunity where you can try out a deal. You can try out at a transaction. You can give them a lead from an open house. Throw them on your listing, throw on one of your low end listings where, you know, they could run with it, see how they follow up, see if they call you after that open house, or are they just sending you the Venmo request for payment from that open house, or are they really like engaging you in that process and are open to being coached or open to changing, because, you know, there is an evolution. And especially if it's somebody newer to the business, you really have that opportunity to shape and mold them, but are they willing to be shaped and molded, and are willing to grow and willing to be uncomfortable?
Date. That's it. You have to date. And date doesn't even necessarily need to do a deal together, right? It could be, hey, be my partner on this deal. Yeah. Can you run some comps, right? We're going out. Can you help? I'll help me arrange that tour for Sunday. And you could see like, oh, why did you choose those apartments? What were you thinking here? How'd you come up with that number? So you kind of get a feel for what you're working with. Because some people, like you said, Aaron, ace an interview. And you're like, oh, they're smart, right? But smart doesn't mean right? Smart doesn't mean gritty, right? This is New York City. Well, for us, right? It's New York City real estate, which is unfortunately a little bit more complicated than, you know, many other areas of the country in dealing, particularly in the cooperative market. So date, please date. I'm looking at some of my other questions here. Just a little rapid fire. Aaron, what percentage of business do you think a team should provide their agent and vice versa? Have you ever thought, because I always say, I have specific, well, my opinion doesn't matter. Aaron.
Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
Again, my team is set up different. So my team members are a part of all the deals. So it's just a little bit different. But to answer that question, because most structures probably won't be like mine.
Right.
I'd probably say, 25, 30%. I think if you can boost them and give them some gas, and it's like maybe a third, and then they can figure out the rest on a traditional team. Again, mine is, we played our strengths, going back to what I said before. So, there's a role that I play in every deal. There's a role that every member plays, be it small or big. So that fleshes out down the line. I do encourage them, obviously, to create their own opportunities. And as a result of being involved in everything, they are able to literally say we, not just because they're leveraging the listings on the page. It's real. And they have that confidence. But I feel like a third, probably. I don't know if you get to a place where maybe half, but ultimately, I don't want anybody on my team that's like, hey, I'm looking for leads. Are you looking to grow? Are you looking for help to like, hey, I'm scrappy, I'm creating, I'm just needing a boost. And like, that's different. So I'm going to participate and understand that this is going to help me level up. But I think that's a different structure. And it doesn't resonate with me for people that are just like, oh, I'm going to go to the team that, doing $1 gazillion and I'm just going to eat on that pipeline, Do you
have a thought on that, Ari? Specifics or no?
I'm sure it will shock you. I have very specific thoughts. I think, again, it comes back to the fundamental why. So like Aaron's why and my why might be different. And in this case, probably are. And that's not wrong. It's just like fundamentally, like, why do you have a team? Why are you running a business? Why are you joining a team? Why are you part of a team? Is the foundational question that I think many of us probably haven't really answered, but should answer. The way our team is structured is the business generally comes from the team as an entity. And then the agents are more on the execution side. And then over the years, some agents have grown to bring in more business of their own. But to put numbers on it, somewhere in the range of 80-85% of the business that we've done as the team over, the arc of having the team since 2013 has come from the team. And
wow.
Cumulative addition of all the other agents combined has been less than 20% from a revenue perspective. But to be clear, it's not sort of people glomming on and saying like, oh, feed me leads, feed me leads. It's more people who are maybe, good at executing, good at kind of managing and running the business, but not as good at bringing in the business, or at least not consistently bringing in the business. I also think, not to like go off on a tangent, but I think it is relevant as you build a mini brand within this industry. Business begets business. So it's easier to do more when you're doing more, and it's harder to do more when you're doing less. So part of what happens is, by being a part of the team, I think most of the agents on our team would agree, they get business sometimes just because it comes from other business, not because we're necessarily doing something special. Obviously the proverbial example is you have a listing, you do an open house, you meet another, seller or buyer at that open house, and you convert that to business. It's not because we had some magical sauce. It's just because you were in the place where business could happen. But yeah, overall, the business for us comes from the team. I don't really want producers on our team from an origination perspective. And the reason is because I know they're going to leave.
Wow.
That's an interesting thought.
Well, can I need to respond to that. I need to give my 30-second response to that.
Please.
And once again, there's no right or wrong here. You are a team lead. You are running your team as you deem fit. I would never hire somebody on my team that wasn't doing at minimum half their own business. And we could talk about that, define what that is. I would be looking for people and bringing them onto my team that are capable of hunting, but need some tweaking, massaging, some mentorship, some operational support, some structure. Hey, it's a lonely business. Just even being some accountability, right? Some energy. Teams provide very different things based upon the person that leads that team. So if you didn't produce at least half of your own business, then that wouldn't be a good fit for me. And my attitude will always be, I'm going to add so much value to that person. Hey, someone wants to leave. My attitude is open door, just do it the right way. Communicate with me. I will help you build your team, right? I want nothing more than success. So I think also we talk about coming from abundance versus coming from scarcity. as long as you communicate properly, I would love to see one of my team members flourish and build their own team. Well, as long as it's done the right way and their exit's done the right way, which also gets to maybe a next question I have about what needs to be in writing. But I think, if you're providing mentorship, structure, meetings, communication, ability, operational and systems and support, there should be enough there that most people, and if they're making the money they want to make to live the life they want to live, because that's always the bottom line, that most people will choose to stay in that team environment. But again, my opinion.
Depends, just to add to that point, I don't think the pie is fixed, right? So your 50-50 could turn into 80-20 when the pie gets bigger. That's part of my point.
Oh, 100%. And it can fluctuate, right? It can ebb and flow. I just don't want people to feel like, oh my God, I need more business. Okay, great, but I'm not here to supply you with all of your business. There are other things that I do in this type of collaboration. So totally agree. Can we then go back to potentially the breakup? Because it makes me crazy when teams don't have a team agreement. And by the way, a team agreement could be 1 page. I hate when I see 15-page team agreements. This is not right. Like you say, keep it simple. It makes me crazy, but things need to be in writing. What must be in writing? So it's not a he said, she said, or I thought you were paying me this. Susan, what needs to be in writing? One thing.
An exit agreement. What happens if the inevitable happens? What is the exit strategy? Whose business is what? How do you break that apart? Which, not to be the negative, Nelly, it's a prenup, right? It's being really anticipatory that this could happen, right? There's a high likelihood that it could happen, and just being really clear on what that means and who owns what after the fact. And of course, anything that you can spell out in the beginning to be really clear on splits and who owns what, because I think the most common disagreement that I see is like the referral off of a referral. Right? Well, this referral is covered under this bucket, but then what happens if that person then refers me, right? It gets sort of that chain of who owns what gets complicated. So as much as you can outline that, but it doesn't need to be, like Eric said, a 15-page agreement. It could also be a 1-page agreement, and you check in and have those communications along the way, because those things are naturally going to come up.
Awesome. Aaron, what has to be in writing?
I agree with that. I didn't always have everything in writing. I'm old school. I look you in the eye, shake your hand. And I'm such a culture first guy that I haven't really had situations. If there is an exit, it's always so much respect there. And it's like, it's fine. But I absolutely have learned, and Ari said it earlier, we are a business. And so there are things that need to be in writing, and people love clarity. That's the reality. And it can get muddled. So we have exit agreement. We have team agreements. They outline splits. I think that's important. Again, I was a handshake. You bring in this, you get this. If it's coming from me, which was the majority of business initially, but again, them growing and starting to build out theirs, it would be another split. If we mutually take something down together, we would split it. But ultimately, yeah, team agreement, outlining splits, exit agreement is important. And I think the other thing that came up from the members, which I thought was really great, was roles and responsibilities as it related to certain initiatives. Again, because I have the sports and entertainment component, similar to Ari having his institutional client, there's a whole division there. And how does it work when we're working with my clients there, as opposed to working with a resale, as opposed to maybe some of our new development projects? So I think having those things outlined clearly makes sure that it's all set.
Ari?
Definitely an agreement, definitely simple. Yeah, we have a simple, so we have an employment agreement for our admins because they're salaried through our LLC. And then we have an agent agreement for the agents that they sign. I am, maybe this surprised you, maybe not. I hate agreements and paperwork. I also think that, you treat people the right way and you interact the right way. And 99% of the time, the paperwork kind of goes in the drawer and is never used. We've been, knock on wood, fortunate that we've had very few people leave over the years. And when we have, this is another reason why I believe in systems. So one of the things that we have in our team is every agent has what we call a tracking list, and it tracks all of their business. And there's a tab at the bottom of the Excel page for every year. And so they have their closed deals, their in contract deals, accepted offers, the A's, B's, and C's, the prospects. It's their responsibility to maintain it, manage it, and then we have a master tracking list for the team. So when we have had people leave, the beauty of having all this stuff in Excel is we literally just copy and paste it, add a column, sit down in the conference room and go, okay, this one, we take 25% on referral. What happens? You keep this one, we keep that one. We add it as an addendum to, an exit agreement. We send it around in email so everybody has it in writing. It's clean, it's simple, it's there. Goes back to the benefit of tracking. If we never tracked their business, it was all kind of like in their head and like crayon drawings on paper. How do you figure out like, oh, Sam, who bought that place, calls them 2 years later, what happens? So yes, you have to have it in writing. It is a business. But I also think you don't want to rely on it. And if you're relying on it, you have a problem before you got started.
Do you delineate, I own that client versus you own that client? Like I made the, I'm a big fan of whoever made it rain, there's more value to that. Do you delineate, I don't necessarily want to get into specifics of how you compensate your agents because, right, that's private information. But I'd love if we could dip a toe in this delicately, just philosophically, what do you think is the wrong way to compensate agents? And it doesn't have to be structures, like you say, simple, complicated, tracking it. Because that's a big question that I try, that everyone always asks me, typically first.
What are the splits?
What are the splits? And I'm very much like Aaron, like, hey, there's enough money to go around, right? I look you in the eye. If I treat you the right way and I hire the right person, you're going to treat me the right way, even on the way out, right? I'm very much, and if not, it is what it is. There's enough money to go around. Talk to me about just commissions as a whole, splits, tracking it, who gets more or less for certain types of deals, where agents get way too complicated on teams. Just any overall general advice you could share real quick. Anybody who wants to jump in.
I mean, for us, okay, go ahead, Roy.
No, please, Aaron, go
ahead. I mean, for us, again, I'm a big believer in money follows the lead. And so I think there should be some type of incentive there. So if an agent's working an open house, whether it's mine or another member, and they, let's say, bag a buyer, there's going to be a bump on what they would get in addition, because I don't want them being door openers. And that's not who I have on my team anyway, but I don't even want that energy. I want it to be incentivized to say, hey, really do the right thing first and foremost for the seller. And there's an opportunity potentially, and there's a buyer here, there's going to be something there. If someone brings in business, I feel that they should be rewarded regardless if I'm the team leader or not. I want them to see that differentiator. I don't care if it's a 10% bump relative to their experience and who they are. There's going to be something to acknowledge that they have that. And in general, with our splits, a majority of the business does flow from me. But again, because I have everyone working on everything, their business, to Ari's point earlier, has multiplied as a result by that exposure. And so then they're bringing in things. So initially, there'll be some type of accounting for this origination, but I'm not trying to go 6 layers down and get to in the weeds. At some point, hey, it's yours, and just like we said on the exit, if it was mine and you kind of own the relationship, maybe you'll pay me a referral fee. And then beyond that, it's your client,
Ari.
I mean, the first thing, which is just so simple, is you should have splits. They should be in writing and they should be clear. I mean, the fact that I have to say that out loud is silly, but I have to say it out loud. I cannot tell you how many agents I've met with over the years about, potentially joining our team or just sort of in passing, who literally have said to me they don't know what they're going to make on a deal until they get their check. I mean, it's mind blowing to me. So whatever you think about like who should get paid what, how philosophically, I mean, at the get-go, like, people should know what they are getting paid when they put in hours of their life working with a client, on a client, back end, front end, whatever. So that's like step number one. And again, I can't believe I have to say it out loud, but I have to.
And that's not even a team lead. That they're both at fault, right? Shame on the team lead. Correct. Shame on the agent.
Right.
Correct. Or people have told me like, yeah, so sometimes when I do this kind of business, we do this, but then sometimes it gives me like an extra 1,500 and maybe like this and possibly that. Like, what? It's just like I mean, it's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Can you imagine if you went to someone and said, like, I want to apply for this job at Microsoft, and the base salary is 150, but if we feel like it, we might pay you 165, or maybe 195, or it could be 130. We're not sure, but we'll tell you at the end of the year. Have a nice year. It's the strangest thing to me. So that's the first thing. Then from there, come up with splits. Make sure that they're really simple, really clean, and really obvious. Like, for example, how do you define who generated the business? How do you define that? What happens when an agent's been with you for 5 or 6 years and they're working with someone who you sent them 5 or 6 years ago, but they're now working with them? Did that come from them? Did that come from you? Like, be very clear.
Right, and they're doing their third transaction with them.
Yeah. So be very clear in terms of what the splits are and how you define them, whatever they are for you. Philosophically, we ran our team for probably 7-ish years with no delineation whatsoever based on origination. The idea was very simple. You're in this for the long haul. Some you'll make more on, some you'll make less on, from kind of like a, hey, I should have gotten more, should have gotten less. Some will be easier, some will be harder, some will be higher price points, lower price points, whatever. But the arc of being on the team was just, we don't spend any time thinking about where it came from. We did that for basically the first 7 years of the team. It worked very well. I'm sure there were deals where the agents felt shafted, and I'm sure there were deals where they were like, I can't believe I got this check. I did 4 hours of work. But it all kind of came out in the wash, and it worked well.
But that's our business, right? 1 showing or 300 showings. It all averages out.
Correct. So that, and I think it helped contribute to kind of a longevity mindset in the team, because what I wanted was people to be less focused transactionally and more kind of relationally and long-term. I wasn't interested in having people on the team for months or even years. I wanted them on for like 5-10 years. So I think it worked well. That being said, once we got to a certain scale, and once some of the agents started to mature more, and once they started to bring on some more of their own business, as well as some other shifts that happened in the industry, like, Premier Agent, which took away a whole bunch of like direct leads, open houses, and other things that happened, we felt we had to be responsive. So we created a secondary split structure whereby if it comes from the agent's sphere of influence, they make considerably more than if it comes from the team. And so we were responsive to the market, and I think that has worked pretty well. You can ask the agents, but I think it's worked pretty well. But we really we have like 3-4 split structures on the whole team. Like, it's not a fancy Excel spreadsheet.
Awesome. We have 1.5 minutes. So if I'm going to ask this question, I'll go Susan, Aaron. I'm going to go Susan, Aaron, Ari here. If someone leaves here today remembering only one thing, you've talked about a lot, and this could be a full day event, right? Breaking down all the different components of really building a well-rounded team. What's the one thing you want someone to remember from today? Susan Fishman.
Why? Why are you creating the team? Why are you hiring that person? What is the purpose they serve? What is your goal? What is your business plan? Why do you need to add people, and what are their roles and expectations?
Mr. Seawood?
Just think about the time that you're willing to commit, because being a team leader, even with the best people, the crown is heavy. And so really be thoughtful around how much time and bandwidth and capacity you have, not just looking again from, you shouldn't be looking from taking, but from this addition and what it's going to mean to you, but your responsibility to the people that would potentially join you, and honor them.
Ari Harkov?
I was going to say the why, so Susan, you took mine.
I know you were last. I'm sorry.
No. I think the why is the thing you should be asking. What I'll add is enjoy the process. Doesn't matter where you are. You can be doing 5 million, 50 million, 500 million, 5 billion. It doesn't really matter. Everybody is on the spectrum of trying to improve and iterate. You could be a team leader, on a team, a partner, an admin, an agent, sales, leasing. Just enjoy the process. We're all building and iterating and figuring out. We're all failing forward and making lots of mistakes. That's the fun part. Like, there's no end. It's not like you arrive one day and wake up and say, okay, I'm done now. It's the building is the fun part of the process. If it isn't fun, don't do it.
My final thought is, what you should also have in writing is a set of expectations that work both ways. We talk about it all the time, like with the process with a buyer, the process with a seller or a renter. Why have they had a great experience or not? It starts at the beginning and how you set up proper expectations. What should that person expect from joining the team, and what do you expect of them? You need to be super, super specific. And frankly, I would put it in writing, even if it's 5 or 6 bullet points, because when you have those quarterly reviews or those monthly reviews, if there's a disconnection there, it's never going to be a he said, she said. It's going to be like, Aaron, come on. It's one of the first things we talked about in joining the team, the expectations of each other. What's changed? So I'm a big fan, once again, because sometimes emotion takes over. People get, let's just say this is a crazy business, get a little irrational. It's always nice to have a document that grounds you to those expectations of making sure that it's a win-win, right? Not a win-lose ever, because then both lose. So Susan Fishman, Aaron Seawood, Ari Harkov. I see that Emma in the background. Thank you, Emma, for putting this event together. You have been awesome. If you want to get in contact with any of us, we didn't have time for questions today. I apologize, but I know we have our emails up there, our social media handles. If you have any questions, we would love to hear from you, and have an amazing Thursday. And I really can't thank my 3 wonderful guests enough for sharing their knowledge today. That's it. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. Aaron and Susan, I will see you soon. And once again, everybody have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.